What happens when law, business, and life collide? Each week on Lead Counsel, your host Tom Tona will take a deep dive into topics related to the law, the business of law, and life. There will be insightful discussions with industry insiders, experts, and thought leaders making significant contributions and meaningful differences in their fields of expertise. Tom is the founder and managing attorney at TonaLaw. He has been a practicing attorney since 1994 and the leader of TonaLaw since it opened in 2001. The goal of this podcast is to provide you with free information on law and the business of law, and to give you actionable tools related to each of these areas. Now, here's Tom.
Hey, welcome back to the Lead Counsel Podcast. Your host, Tom Tona. Before we jump into today's topic, I just want to take a minute to thank the sponsors of the podcast. This podcast is sponsored by TonaLaw. If you're an attorney and you're looking for a trusted partner in New York personal injury referrals, TonaLaw has been doing this since 2001. We're the go-to New York personal injury law firm for attorneys and law firms across the U.S. At TonaLaw, we pay legal fee participation, referring attorneys in all jurisdictions where it's permitted. Refer us a case today and experience the TonaLaw difference. Call us now to discuss how we can work together at 844-TonaLaw or visit us at TonaLaw.com. If you're calling because you heard us on the podcast, just mention Lead Counsel when you make the referral, and they will get you on the phone with me. We are here with Jenn Gore. And I was talking to other middle-aged law partners who are all big in marketing. And we're all like, man, that Jennifer Gore Cuthbert person out of Atlanta, Georgia, man, she came on the scene like gangbusters, like just out of the gate. And all of a sudden, everybody across the country knew your name. One, you're in a very competitive market. You're a personal injury attorney and founder of the Atlanta Personal Injury Law Firm, right? You're also a coach and an author. So you're in a hyper-competitive market. You're a woman. So I know there's challenges in the legal field with that and then in the personal injury space with that. And you've kind of taken no prisoners, man. You're coming at it. You are coming at it. And I love that about you.
People don't know. I've been through some crazy stuff,
Yeah.
And life has hard times, but those things led me to becoming a lawyer. I wouldn't have become a lawyer.
Yeah.
And so you have to decide the bad things in your life. What is that narrative? What is that going to mean now?
Right. Do you let them define you, or do you use them as fodder to go become the best version of yourself?
I started the firm when my daughter was 2 months old, and I just feel like a lot of solo practitioners, I lived that life very briefly. You pay in other ways. You pay with your time. You pay in the fact that you're chained to the desk. If you don't build a business, then I can leave. I actually, on my third child, left, and this whole firm was run without me for 2.5 months. Most lawyers could never experience that.
Yeah.
They think, they don't have pressure, they don't have any responsibility, but they have every weight of the whole business on them. And you'll see when they're on vacation, they're on their phone, maybe typing a brief or whatever they're doing. They're not really, nobody creates a business so that they have zero freedom.
Right. That was one of my primary drivers, right? But it's got to be a scalable business to have that freedom, right? You have to have leverage points. Otherwise, your fax machine on vacation, like you said, the cell phone. And to me, I was not building a job. It was going to be a scalable thing. So, and I know that that's your mindset as well.
Yeah, I just feel like you start to resent the business. I coach a couple different lawyers, and I can see it. When you never have a break, when you never can step away, or that there's going to be a cost for you taking a vacation, you tend to take less vacations. You tend to do less things that are important to do as a human. And then you'd start to resent the company. I didn't want to go that route,
Right. Because what you're talking about is people that are building a job. It's just another job, right? And now it's the worst kind of job because you have no security, and you are at least if you have a paycheck coming in, you're working for somebody, you have that security. So I kind of feel like when you make the decision to hang a shingle, you're either creating a job or you're creating a business, and you have to be willing to go through those different pain stages like you were talking about to build that business.
So I was literally on the phone the other day, this guy that I mentor, he's a newly graduated law student, and he kept trying to ask me if I just kept it small, would it be less stressful? And he's like, trying to negotiate with me. Like, well, I'm like, well, if you keep it small, here's your poison. If you keep it big, here's your poison. Like, pick your
Right.
poison there. Like,
Right.
this is not for the faint of heart, either way you cut it, because
No,
you're
it's
going
not.
to have to choose which journey you go on. And I think how you just said it is really a good way to look at it. Are you building yourself a job, or are you building a company? Because they're actually different skill sets.
Right. Yeah. And building a job, there's nothing wrong with being a solopreneur, right? Where you have a maximum amount of hours you could ever put in. It's not scalable. It revolves around you. And you may have slightly more freedom because you might get slightly more PTO and you might make more money. But then again, you have more risk, right?
More
Versus
risk.
building a business where, we're speaking the same language. It's different. There's leverage points there. Are you handling files at all anymore?
Not really anymore, because
Good for you.
I used to be the managing attorney. We now have a managing attorney, and she's double the years in practice that I am in. And
Awesome.
we have a litigator who's 25 years in practice. I mean, she's a better litigator than I am.
Right.
So it's like, when you hire people that are smarter than you, like, I don't have the need to like insert myself in those ways. I mean, I'm in the loop.
Right.
I know what's going on. I'm part of all the attorney, like, we do round tables
Yeah.
where we round table cases, and everybody kind of looks at our top 10% of our cases and strategizes. But I don't want to hire amazing people and then try to like hamper them or like
Right.
make them listen to me. Like, I want to really empower them, and they kind of report out to me and say, this is what we're going to do. And we have like fail safes and checks and balances in place, but I don't have the need to be the number one attorney in this firm.
Right. Me neither. And just to echo that, I have to give you props. You changed my game. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. I can learn from anybody, right? The fact that I've been doing this 30 years means nothing if I'm not humble enough to say there are superstars out there that can teach me things at every level.
This podcast is sponsored by TonaLaw. Attorneys, are you looking for a trusted partner for your New York personal injury referrals? Since 2001, TonaLaw has been the go-to New York personal injury law firm for attorneys and law firms across the U.S. At TonaLaw, we pay legal fee participation to referring attorneys in all jurisdictions where it's permitted. Refer us a case today and experience the TonaLaw difference. Call us now to discuss how we can work together at 844-TONA-LAW or visit us at TonaLaw.com.
I want to know how you ended up all of a sudden in the middle of a merger.
Because when you go through such a life change, you're like, I'm doing things I never thought I would do, And one of them was, I had this thought, like you said, about being an island. And I remember thinking, like, is that belief still serving me? Is being an island and being hyper independent, like, is this actually something I think is serving me in the highest way? And I kind of had this thought, like, maybe not. And I also thought about some of the wealthiest people in the world. You think about Elon Musk, you think about Jeff Bezos, you think about these people. How much of their company do you think they own?
Right. They're not an island. I get it. I mean, I know what you're talking about. I know where you're going with it. So that's an interesting analysis, but keep going. I'm fascinated. I had to figure this out with you, Jenn.
Yeah. So these thoughts came to my mind when I was approached about this merger, but like, I was not thinking I'm going to sell my law firm. What had happened was I think I was going to a lot of events, speaking at a lot of events. I was putting up a lot of content on social media, and I knew people who knew Sweet James partners. And one of them was Elisa Boss. I don't know if you know her, but she goes to a lot of events. And she had been like calling me and texting me and saying like, hey, I think they want to meet with you. And at that point, I was so naive. I'm thinking like, I don't know a lot about Sweet James. Like, I don't know, what do they want to meet with me about actually? Like, I wasn't thinking this is going to be a merger or anything. But, I'm kind of friendly. So I'll meet with people. Let's talk business. I've been mentored by a lot of these people. So at PimCon last year was a big event I was speaking at. The Sweet James people were there. And I actually didn't even end up talking with them that much. Like, it was just so much going on. And I think we met briefly, but I realized who they were. And then I started doing my due diligence and who is Sweet James? And, it's pretty impressive, the organization. And I started asking people more questions, and people are like, oh, you definitely want to meet the people at Sweet James. This firm is incredible. So
it's relatively new. Hearing the story, I'm like, they came on the scene 2 years, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, and they're nationwide. So I heard the business guys speaking about the model that they had put together.
Yeah.
And I was like, these are people to be reckoned with, man. They know the formula.
Yeah. So I was talking with some of my friends about like, hey, tell me more about Sweet James. And I was really impressed by the organization. It's kind of like a law firm as a tech startup.
Right.
And highly intelligent people that work there, really amazing lawyers. So then I just decided, you know what? We didn't really get to talk at this event. I'm just going to fly to California and go see them and go to the headquarters.
Nice.
And I did. And it was one of those things, like when I arrived on the campus, we have a beautiful office. I was like, wow, I feel at home. Like I felt like that was like, if I would build a law firm to that size, it would look and feel like this.
Right.
And, you know, we have like over 500 people there. And I was really struck by Steve, one of the partners. He is a genius. He's a savant. He's in his own category, honestly, the way he sees law and sees the future. And
is Steve the one I heard on the podcast? Is he the one I was referring to as the business guy?
And he doesn't, do a lot of podcasts or anything. So I hadn't really seen him a ton, but he shared his vision for the firm. Then I met, a bunch of the other partners and attorneys that work there and some of the executive team. And I was like, I love all these people, like the energy and the way they work and the relentlessness. It's like when you join the Olympic team, you're going to work more, but these people are going to make you better.
And you're going to win. And you're going to
win. Definitely, you're going to win.
Right.
And I just never had that feeling. And I felt like I had done my own thing for 11 years. And there was a lot of pain points. Like, let's be honest, like no matter what you do, if you're part of a big firm, if you have your own firm, there are pain points and challenges. Right. So don't get it twisted. Like choose which ones you want to deal with because there are challenges at every angle.
Right.
For me, I looked at it as like, okay, Jen, you've done this for 12 years. Like, we can keep growing. We were growing by like 50% a year. But I actually also at the same time had been having the feeling like, God, I'm so tired of the problems of a law firm under 10 million. Because under 10 million, there's very particular problems. And you really have to make a shift at some point to really become a top 3 player in the market, or you have to constantly fight in this shark pool.
Right.
And I was just like, I've been hanging out with a lot of firms that were over 100 million, and I saw the problems they had. And I was just thinking like, I really am so bored with this level that I'm at, and I'm tired of it. Just like a lot of personnel issues you have at a certain level. There's a lot of like marketing issues. And I was like, I just really want to be like much bigger.
You want scale.
Yeah.
And it's hard to build that.
And at the same time, I met this AI company, Eve, and I started working with them, and I became like the partner of them. And I was thinking maybe I'm going to scale through AI. And that really changed my law firm. We were doing everything with like becoming AI native.
That's what we're doing now. We're in the middle of that as well.
Yeah. So I was like, with Sweet James, they were so far ahead on AI when I met them. And yeah, so I think they just got me at the right time in my life where I was very open. And I also was a culture fit, and they were a culture fit for me. And I can't stress that. I think that is very, very important in this situation.
Yeah.
And then they also basically offered me to join as a partner, which not all mergers are that. Some mergers are an exit where you leave.
Right.
My mindset was, I just want to learn. Whatever Sweet James is doing, they are a dominant player. They know more than me. I want to learn, and I want to contribute the things that I've learned from all the masterminds I've been in. Like, not saying that, a lot of that stuff is confidential, but just the way I think has been solidified by my experiences in these groups. So what ended up happening was I ended up volunteering to take over intake nationally for Sweet James.
Wow.
That's a strong suit of mine from all the things I've learned over the years. And that was an area that we, could have been better at. So then I started just saying like, how can I add value to this organization and try to help, with the skills I have, and I think when you go in and you're like, how can I create more value? That's the right mindset in this situation.
Right.
There's things that they are light years ahead of me on, and I have to just listen. Like, I'm just there to listen. But it's like, I love learning. So like for me, this is great. There are things that I've seen that I'm like, oh my God, I was doing everything wrong. Like at this size, this works. At this size, it doesn't work. At this size, you have to do this. And so that has been like thrilling to like learn new, like everything. Like even I go back to like things I said 2 years ago and I'm like, well, that is very applicable to a firm this size. It's not applicable to a firm this size.
Right.
And, you know, you have different problems at different scale sizes, and the challenges can really snowball when you're big, actually. And you have to be much more intentional about the long-term effects of every problem, because you can do one thing and it creates a totally secondary problem. Right. So like just as a student, as an entrepreneurial student, like I'm just like thrilled every day that I get to learn. The other thing I would say is that if somebody wanted to become acquired, there's some key things that I think they would need to do. I think having a trade name is always good because it kind of does set you up to sell, but that's not necessarily necessary. I think to sell, you have to have solid employees that are consistently producing revenue. You need to have a business that runs not just on you. Most mergers are not interested in acquiring solos. You need to have built something that can be bought. So you need to have consistent revenue, consistent case acquisition, consistent marketing that they know, like, hey, tomorrow we acquire you, you're still going to produce this many cases in your marketing. And if you have a really strong personal brand, which is what I tried to create, I think that also is a value add because you're a voice in that community.
What would you point to as the biggest needle mover of your career thus far?
As we've been discussing, coaching and mentors.
Awesome.
It's the key hack.
Awesome.
Yeah. If you
a lot of people say
find somebody with the results you want, and I've never heard somebody really, very rarely turn you down. And for me, I think finding people in other markets, they're more honest. They don't perceive you as a threat.
Right.
You know, like somebody in California doesn't care what I'm doing in Atlanta.
Right.
You know, I'm so lucky and blessed that I have had some of the best mentors in the industry. I just force them to be my mentors.
I like that.
I was like, hi. I think one of them, I was just like, hi, you're my new mentor. And, you know, I really do think that that works well. I love to study other people and see other people that I think are successful and try to replicate what they're doing and put my own spin on it. But I would not be where I am now. I mean, the second year I was in business, I went and got business coaching. And, you know, I have no problem being like, I don't know anything. I need to learn, and put the ego to the side. Like, I just want to get better. And it's also really important to surround yourself by people who are doing more than you, who are, you know, more profitable, have more stable teams, because they will inspire you. And in the difficult times, you'll be like, it's possible because this person's doing it, you know?
So let me ask you a question about the masterminds that you attend, because you attend a lot of trial technique masterminds. I attend all of them almost exclusively business. I will attend, like if Ryan McKean's throwing something, I'm going because I love those outlier type of things that they accomplish. So I know I see you at a lot of the personal injury trial specific stuff.
Yeah. So
what's the strategy there? What's the strategy there?
So I would say I'm in only a couple trial ones. I'm in a lot more business ones for sure.
Okay.
I'm in a lot of private masterminds. I go to a lot of conferences, but I do participate in AAJ, which I kind of think is more trial. I've gone to Linear. That's really like a conference.
Right.
And I always took the perspective that one day I'm going to lead and command a large volume of trial lawyers. And so I want to understand the mindset. I want to understand the motivations. I want to be really connected to them because they are a key component of building an incredible personal injury firm.
I agree. And that was one of the epiphanies I had with Ryan McKean, where I got kind of complacent. You can make a lot of money. Like I tried cases when I was a younger attorney. So you can make a lot of money if you set up systems around that stuff, but you got to
be fresh.
You got to stay in the game, right? So you got to keep those trials happening, even if it's not you doing them, right?
100%. 100%.
So
So,
I
and
like that.
also, like, I have had a very easy time standing out when I go. Like, I was just this past weekend at Trial Lawyer University in Huntington Beach. I'm often one of the very few female attorneys there. There's a couple.
Yes.
So, like, everyone ends up knowing me. And I think, like Rex Paris, he's one of my mentors. You guys know Rex.
Yes.
He's
Yes.
gotten some of the largest verdicts. I mean, I'm hanging out with Rex Paris, Brian Panish. These are guys have gotten highest verdicts in the United States.
Yep.
And then I can text Rex right now and be like, Rex, I need your help. And he would help me.
That's a tremendous resource just to have them where they can co-counsel with you on big cases
Yeah,
too.
like his team has said, like, whatever you need, our team will help you. So, like, business is relationships. Go to the spaces
Yes.
where people aren't going. Don't always do the obvious thing.
Yeah.
And, I attribute it to some of my mentors. I noticed they were going. So I was like, oh, one of the things about Trial Lawyer University is you can send your attorneys there and they can get mentored by some of the greatest trial lawyers in America and build those relationships. So I feel like if I'm sending people from my team, I should go on behalf of the firm. Like there's always something to learn. And I don't feel weird that I'm not the lead trial lawyer when I go there because a lot of people already recognize me from social media.
Right.
And like I've actually picked up 3 or 4 coaching clients of trial lawyers when I've gone to those events as well.
Because for the business side, right? Yeah, that's pretty smart. I'll tell you that. Thank you for listening to this episode of Lead Counsel Podcast. Your host, Tom Tona. Go anywhere podcasts are distributed. Follow us. Leave us a 10-star review. Share some episodes with your friends. And thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Thank you.
This podcast is sponsored by TonaLaw. Attorneys, are you looking for a trusted partner for your New York personal injury referrals? Since 2001, TonaLaw has been the go-to New York personal injury law firm for attorneys and law firms across the U.S. At TonaLaw, we pay legal fee participation to referring attorneys in all jurisdictions where it's permitted. Refer us a case today and experience the TonaLaw difference. Call us now to discuss how we can work together at 844-TONA-LAW or visit us at TonaLaw.com.